If you've ever wanted to know how to do really well at a high school ethics competition like the Ethics Olympiad, the TKEthics Invitational, or even the global AI debates, I've got the video for you. Here, I'll be interviewing three of the top ethicists in the high school category in the world from Wellington College, New Zealand, Thomas, Jesse, and Cameron, who won the fall TKEthics Invitational competition. Please like and subscribe. Check out the links in my bio for access to the competition and for more resources, and I'll see you at a competition soon. Enjoy. Let's just get straight into it. I mean, do you guys want to all just introduce yourselves one by one? Maybe tell us, I guess, well, one of you can say your school at least and your grade and what you guys study. I'm interested to hear that as well. Maybe Thomas, do you want to go first? You're on the top of my
Cool.
screen.
Yeah, my name's Thomas. We all go to Wellington College, which is sort of, I want to say one of the biggest public secondary schools in Wellington, which is capital of New Zealand. And what do I study? I mean, we still stay pretty general. I mean, I kind of stay away from your sciences and your maths. And we're in year 13, so that's for us. I don't know how it works elsewhere, but that's our last year of high school. And but next year, I'm going down to Canterbury University, which is another city in New Zealand, to study law and arts. So looking forward to it.
Cool. And have you now finished high school altogether, or is there one more
Oh
semester?
yeah, yeah. Sorry, yeah, we're done because we end. Our summer is now like Christmas time, so we've just wrapped up not too long ago.
Congratulations. That's so exciting. Oh my God, what a period. That's wicked. Okay, Cameron, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, in terms of what I'm studying, I'm a lot similar to Thomas in terms of, staying away from the sciences and all that kind of thing, doing lots of English and stuff. And I'm going down to the south of the country to Dunedin, which is another city in New Zealand. I'm going to be studying law and English next year.
Cool. Do you think that the Ethics Olympiad style discourse has helped you or will help you with the law stuff? Did you also do debating or?
Oh, yeah, no, we're all three of us have been very involved in like debating and ethics and like politics and all these sorts of things throughout sort of the past 5 years. So it's been a very developing how to like structure arguments and do stuff like that. It's been very formative for all of us, I think I can say. And
Mm.
going into like me and Thomas doing law and stuff like that, it's a really useful thing.
Yeah, I've seen my brother's just finished first year law, and I've sort of seen his essays and stuff, and a lot of it early on is on the philosophy of law. And yeah, you're like, gosh, this is surprisingly similar. I'm quite looking forward to it.
100%. And having a baseline in the ethical theories is going to be, it makes so many university courses so much easier in the arts. It really is all based on underlying philosophy that comes out of like the 17th century and before, which, yeah, we definitely cover in the Olympiad, don't we? Yeah, cool. Jesse?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the other two, I'm a little bit atypical. I'm very keen on my sciences and my techie side, but I've been fortunate enough to finish that a little bit early at high school. And I think a big component for me throughout has been maintaining that balance, both in the humanities and the tech. I mean, I did a uni course this year, which was big data, AI, and philosophy, which I think is the perfect little microcosm for what my interest is in, and that's kind of the balance in between the two. As for next year, I'm not quite sure yet. I think I'll give the States a crack for uni, might head over there. But yeah, definitely keeping up that pathway of keeping up my tech and my science and equally my philosophy and my ethics. I think I might want to go into international policy and AI and ethics there, how we make sure all this tech is doing good. But yeah, lots up for discussion and a lot of different pathways.
Where are you going to go in the States? Do you know? Stanford?
Yeah, well, I got into Harvard on Friday. So
Oh,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But I've got an application for Stanford. I see how that goes. But yeah, was pretty blown away to get into Harvard. Insane. I have to figure out how to pay for it, but very excited to get in.
That is unbelievable. Well, when you come, I hope you do choose Harvard because then we can. Well, you won't be 21, so we can't grab a beer, but we'll grab a coffee. Um,
Yeah,
that's fantastic,
Yeah.
and I'll introduce you to America. That's so cool. Well done.
are
Um,
you in Boston?
I'm in Boston, Massachusetts. Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, wow. Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. I did my master's in theological studies at the Harvard Divinity School,
Oh,
studying like Buddhist philosophy mostly. So you'll be doing much more useful stuff, but still, yeah,
That sounds amazing.
it was fun. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, I did my undergrad in Vancouver, Canada at UBC in philosophy as well. So yeah, listen, that's so good. Oh my God, what a starting point. Tell us. So I think I've kind of got the impression already. You guys sound just like I was in high school. So I grew up in Perth, Western Australia. I went to Hale, and I did, debate throughout the entire thing. And then Ethics Olympiad was started by my philosophy teacher, Matthew Wills. He was my philosophy teacher when I was 15. Yeah. And then I was in the first ever Olympiad team. And we did something with like a Stanford high school. And then it's just grown like crazily from there. As you know, there are sort of hundreds and hundreds of schools across Australia and New Zealand. Do you want to tell me about your background in debate? How did you first get into it? And what about the transition to the Olympiad? When did that happen?
Yeah. We all sort of popped in. We've all had kind of different paths debating wise. I think we started Ethics Olympiad as well in year 9, but we all kind of, we were very like sign up to everything. I was, sort of the kids who came up with like 11 clubs that signed up for. And lots of them are kind of, the teachers know the other teachers running different things. So yeah, like for me, I was sort of in debating from year 9 and it wasn't actually that good until later on. But then we've always we found our little niche in ethics and we did pretty well. I think it was in year 9, we got into the junior Australasian finals back then. And so I think from there, we kind of were like, okay, we actually know what we're doing, and we kind of got hooked.
Oh yeah, in terms of getting into ethics, I think important thing to note is that we had like a really driven teacher, Miss Bartlett, who was like just very, very keen and like very interested
and smart
in personal development, and she was smart and keen to like bounce ideas around, and it was always just, it made it more fun for us, I think. And that was, the gratification of like chasing the win, chasing the final was always, I think, very good for us, but there was also the ideas, and Miss Bartlett was really the core of that. So it's about the teachers a lot.
And I think more than that is like, it was almost a natural outlet. Like I know Thomas and I and Cameron and I, we're all kind of having the conversations in this genre of what's going on in the political state. What is this right or wrong, to put lightly, before this was introduced. And I remember in year 9 when we had another teacher, Mr. Naran, go, hey, there's this new opportunity, Ethics Olympiad. I don't think the school had done it before. You look like a group of boys that might be interested. And it just so happened that like we were the 3 group of boys and we were doing the outside of it. And now there was this kind of formal structure to do it within that, the proof is in the pudding that we stuck together for the next 5 years and stuck at it, that it was a really good structured area to continue that outlet of stuff we were already interested in.
That's so good. And did you have philosophy at your school, or was the teacher just into social studies?
Yeah,
we added it recently.
It's very new.
Yeah, there's like an English and philosophy course that's been added. But I think, did you do that, Jesse, this year? But we didn't do that, and obviously didn't have that in year 9.
I did that, but it was great.
But we have a strong, I think we have a strong group of we've got our debating club, we've got a separate politics club, we've got and all of these teachers and people who you kind of find yourselves and set up a good kind of environment for talking about that. Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question. How do you balance, was it Cameron who said, the desire to win? I appreciate that. I know where that comes from. But I sort of feel like that really works with debate, because with debate, you can come in pretty hot, right? As you know, you can get pretty aggressive. You can it feels like you're in a UFC fight or something occasionally in really high level debating. But in Ethics Olympiad, the way to win is not to be aggressive at all. It's not to go for the throat. It's to, I guess, approach it in a very different way. So how do you balance those things? And was it a big transition to, I guess you started in grade 9, but was that something you had to learn, how to engage really politely?
At least for me, and I know for the others as well, it was definitely a learning journey, and one that I think we had to actually sit down and go, hey, this isn't debate. We can't just cut them down. And sometimes it's how we debate with each other. And it's a habit that dies hard and is very easy to fall into, especially when you're doing them both simultaneously and you're going to your debate meet on one day and then you've got your ethics practice on the other. But it was probably quite valuable and we probably learned quite a bit from it. and how to have a conversation without winning as the goal. But yes, we all do like to win, and it was a difficult transition, at least for me, and I think the other boys will agree.
I think
No, actually,
sometimes
I'm sorry.
we've been a bit frustrated by like we've tried to do our debating stuff and we've done our little argument and then we were confused why we didn't win. And I think
Mm.
Thomas actually came up with some really interesting stuff at the start of this year where we were almost thinking about doing like a kind of victory lap. And he just sort of thought we want to come at it from like the smartest possible way and have like the smartest possible conversation we can have.
Mm.
And I think that was kind of the mindset we went into like this one particularly with. And it worked really well.
I
I think that's probably the culmination of it.
the interesting thing about that, though, to tie it kind of all together, is over these last 2 years, I've had the privilege of being in the Wellington regional debating team and going to nationals with that. And one of the big things that I think was a huge shift for me and other people was we would often be losing debates, these practice debates. And our coaches kind of realized that what we were doing is we were trying to win the debates and we were trying to stomp the other team. And what that meant is we often weren't actually like listening and engaging with their points. And it often meant things kind of slid through. And so it was a huge shift in like actually how I debated that I think Ethics Olympiad kind of was able to get me to sort of practice and be ready to change how I debate. And I thought that was like a huge benefit. And so I think it's kind of cool how they sort of balance each other out and you get better at both, I think.
That's
I mean,
really
I
good.
agree with that wholeheartedly. That me and Thomas are in the same debating team, and our debating coach often tells us all that use your ethical frameworks, use everything you've learned from your time doing ethics, and it has been really valuable, and it's won us debates. So it definitely goes both ways, and there is a difference, but I think there's a happy medium where they both help each other.
And that's so good. Okay, I want to get in the weeds then, get a bit technical. How do you guys prepare for a tournament when it's coming up? You get these 8 cases. How long before do you start? What do you do in your prep sessions?
Well,
It kind of depends.
it does depend. And I think a lot of it is coming back to that original point I made that a lot of our prep is just kind of day to day and natural, that we're already having these discussions, that more often than not, the cases are presented to us and we're like, hey, we had a conversation about that the other day, or the whole AI and which was a theme in these cases, is something that we're talking about quite often just between ourselves and within the school. So it helps a lot that the prep doesn't feel like prep. And I think that might be a lesson across the board that yes, we definitely do have our sit down, let's run through every case. And I mean, the other boys can elaborate on what that looks like, do it quickly, what's our initial thoughts, anything we might want to do. But we're not the team that goes in with big written pieces of paper and plans and like potential rebuttal for what the other two, like we're not doing debating prep for it. And I think that kind of separation in our minds of ethics and debates and is like also separated in how we prep for it. We'll prep differently for a debate and how we prep for ethics because of the discussion angle of ethics and how that already overlaps with like the discussion we're doing day to day.
Yeah, I think what's happened, what I've noticed is that over our kind of years, we started off and we would have, we'd have our weekly meetings and would normally have a case that we would discuss, which normally would just get off railed and somehow would be end up talking about, like whether God exists or something like that. But we would sort of have these conversations and would try answer the questions and we'd be trying to kind of bring them back to the cases, if you know what I mean, of like, how do we actually answer this question? But I think especially this year, which was kind of our like last dance, and we did a little bit less prep because we were also in exam leave. And we kind of, one thing we had is we just had a sheet of paper and we went through every case and we said, what's the most interesting thing we think we can like get to from this case? What's like the hardest, most complex, like literally just like the smartest thing we can think of related to there. Let's keep that in our mind. If you don't know like the answers, I'm happy, we're happy to go and Google and be like, has anyone thought about an idea along the lines of this? Is there any kind of interesting philosophical idea? But I think because we'd spent so many years before that, not only discussing cases, not only debating, not only thinking about those ideas, but then also, watching, I've watched quite a lot of ethics YouTube videos, and I think, and those kind of things that you sort of just have it in your head. and that at that point you're able to pull together something that's so much more coherent and nice and smart than some prepared kind of takedown.
Yeah, I think it
Cameron?
very much sort of, we wanted to see all the cases as a jumping off point just quickly. And like that was what was key to getting what was Thomas was talking about, getting to those deep ideas, getting to the smartest possible things we could say.
So what about if you were going to coach a grade 8 who was going to go to their first Olympiad and it was in 2 months? What would you do with them? Because I'm in this position quite a lot. We coach Olympiad. Do you start with ethical theories, do you think? And then I guess part of this is how important are these ethical theories, and how deep did you go with them? And which ones do you feel like are absolutely essential to do your first Olympiad?
Well, we've kind of done that actually, especially Cameron. So I'll pass it on to him quickly. But we've coached Ethics Olympiad, junior Ethics Olympiad teams as well, and hopefully are creating a little bit of a dynasty.
And definitely from my experience, it's like very much you want to drop them in the deep end and you want to go and say, okay, here's this deep idea, here's this deep idea. But I think we've been talking about it the whole time. It's very much this learning experience. And I think you need the theories, the like basic level utilitarianism and stuff, to sort of develop a kind of relational knowledge. We have these sort of structures at our school that we used to use for like assessments. And the best one is extended abstract. And that's when you can take multiple ideas and like create your own original ideas from them. And I think that's probably the best outcome you can have for teaching junior students. You want to get them to have all these different ideas that they can then use to create their own original thinking. So yeah, ultimately you don't want them to be reliant on theories, because I think that just doesn't create smart ideas. It doesn't create good cases, but I think you need them as a building block.
Just to add to that, the thing that I have kind of got the most out of ethics during my time in the 5 years is this idea of like articulating things that you kind of already know, already feel. So our discussions for years, we are going, hey, we want to do what provides the most happiness to the most amount of people. And then all of a sudden you watch your Alex O'Connor video, you do your research, and now you've got a label for that. And I mean, that would be the way I teach people. And I didn't do as much coaching with the other people, as with Thomas and Cameron, but articulating things that people already know or already believe or already like have original ideas, and adding a label or a framework after that is, I think, a really effective way to kind of build up that ethical thinking. And I'll just touch briefly, like doing ethics has like fundamentally changed the way I see the world. And it's something that I'm like forever grateful for, and that I literally can go through my day to day. And I know me and Thomas have talked about this, and have this new lens upon which I can see the world with. And the kaleidoscope of that lens is all these different like ethical theories that I now have a name for. And by articulating them, by like understanding them in a structure that like professors and academics have perfected over years, and here's what Kantianism looks like, here's what utilitarianism looks like, and applying that to an idea or a kind of belief that you already have is the most valuable thing, in my opinion. And I think that's what I'd do if I were teaching people as well, that help them foster their own ideas. What do they think? And here's a label that someone else has come up with that applies quite nicely, or maybe not entirely, and how you could use that to even extend your ideas more.
That is exceedingly well said. Nice. Yeah, go on.
I think when we were specifically teaching, what it kind of looked like often was we would grab a simple idea of, you just do utilitarianism and you just be like, why is it bad to punch somebody in the face? And then everyone sort of says something, and eventually you try to stop them making jokes and arguing with the hypotheticals, but you then go, okay, now you've got your classic example, you've got your douchebag who's got 5 perfect organs for our Nobel Prize winners in the other room. And then from there you go, oh, here's this idea, here's our Kantianism. And then from there you go, oh, here's this other idea. What if there's an axe murderer at the door? And then you go, and you continue to go from there. And then eventually, hopefully you can kind of set them loose, if you know what I mean. Like you can just, once you've given them that base. But at the same time, I think what we often excelled with was when we found ideas somewhere, and then that were like kind of outside the purview of watch
Mhm.
the usual like virtue ethics, utilitarianism, Kantianism kind of ideas. Like I think we talked a lot about desert adjusted utilitarianism, talked a lot about the veil of ignorance. We talked a lot about like moral intuitionism and that kind of area of like meta ethics and stuff like that. And so I think that if you can find something that you actually understand and are actually interested in, and your brain automatically goes to that whenever you think of like these ethical ideas, I think that's really helpful to just prove that you know what you're doing and you're smart and thinking deeply.
And getting to add those new ideas to your kaleidoscope and to your kitty. It's like a basket in Māori, and you add these new little tools to your toolkits that go back and forth with ideas you already believe and are able to articulate them in one direction and like create new ones in the other direction. Is like what Thomas said. It's really valuable that we get to add this veil of ignorance to our basket of ways to approach a problem, and then it go apply it in a ethical dilemma, not just in a competition, but like in the world around us.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we also, whenever I do an intro, if they can get through util and deontology reasonably well and understand Kantian and sort of non-Kantian general principles, always the next step for me is Rawls, the veil of ignorance. I think it's really so useful.
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And the book itself, a bit brutal, a bit long, but it is really good as well. Can you tell me more about your moral intuitionism? So how would you use that? Because I've always worried about, I want to, because let me just preface it by saying, if someone asks me, okay, what about the problems in meta ethics? What about the fact that, like, I mean, what are we even talking about? What does moral language mean? Are we actually realists? Can we bring in anti-realist theories? Or like, can we bring in emotivism, for instance, into an ethics Olympiad round? My intuition is always like, wow, that's going to make it incredibly difficult. That's suddenly the conversation is not really about solving the dilemma on the table, which is often like a political, social, interpersonal kind of problem that you actually have to make a decision on. If you start becoming an anti-realist, like there is no way to answer that question. So I often guide my students away from meta ethics. I so want to know how you guys use meta ethics and especially intuitionism here.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, I'll try like say this without putting too much into my personal opinion, but I don't think an anti-realist position is particularly helpful apart from like a passing comment. I think personally that's just because like no one is actually an anti-realist. No one believes. Everyone inherently feels if they had a gun to their head, they couldn't like that could tell what they actually thought. They couldn't convince themselves that morals weren't real because everyone, just like free will, just like the perception that the world around you is true, just like the perception that you are true, like everyone kind of believes that. And so I think that would derail the conversation. But I think how we tried to think about bringing like intuition and that kind of level of meta ethics into the conversation was we would often say, look, we're really torn here and as a team, or we think this one thing, but we're also really confused because we've got the strong intuition over here that we're feeling that we're struggling with. As a question to you guys, often we do this as team B, do you think that making a judgment off a moral intuition is okay? Like, do you think that that's a fine thing to use inside of your conversation as sort of a nice launching off point? But also at the same time, like, hypotheticals are highly encouraged inside of Ethics Olympiad, right? Of like, let's push these ideas to the extreme. And that is a moral intuition. Like that's a reductio ad absurdum. That is precisely what you're doing is you're saying, here's your logic, let's apply it. So it's still logical, but for some reason, that just feels wrong. For some reason, I don't want the ex murderer to kill my grandma. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good answer. Brilliant. And I love the distinction that there are some things you do as team B and not as team A. Because like, yeah, the sort of questions you're going to raise as team B can often be of a quite different character, can't they, than trying to construct a pretty rigorous case. So, okay. Oh man, we could go super deep here, but I guess we'll go for some amount of breadth as well, because we could just do this all day. I don't want to take too much of your time. So tell me, what do you think is the most valuable part of doing the Ethics Olympiad?
It's given me a framework and a set of tools by which I can now like understand and make good decisions in the world around me. And even not like make good decisions, evaluate other people's decisions. And whether before that was kind of like vibe doing it without labels for this. And now by adding labels to it, I can both kind of expand the ideas I already had, and it's opened up all these new ones. So just the ability to look at the world around you with an entirely new lens on is one which like you don't get lightly. And it's something that I think I'll get for the rest of my life and treasure for the rest of my life. And that is like the fundamental reason why I'd suggest anybody do it. It's entirely different from debating. Debating taught us all how to like articulate ourselves, how to kind of develop an idea in a logical framework. And now ethics has come along and like develop an idea in a way which you understand who it impacts. You understand like the ramifications outside of simply if then that. Like it's not simply just logic in the way debating is, and you want to win a debate. It's now like a framework to really see and perceive the world around you, and that is the reason why I suggest anybody do it. And it's the reason I'm so happy I did.
I think that's so accurate as well. This is my experience of studying philosophy, by the way. You're totally echoing everything that I have thought. Like, doing philosophy is not just learning sets of propositions. It really is. It's learning an approach to the world. And I think you see people, probably one of the worst parts is that you start seeing when people aren't capable or haven't learned how to think this way and haven't been able to figure out how to go, one, using hypotheticals to test principles, right? People's inability to do that, to kind of question one particular belief in the context of a broader principle, huge. And two, maybe this is philosophy and debate. I think it's philosophy specifically, laying out, like mapping arguments, being able to show that premise one, premise two, premise three leads to this conclusion deductively or inductively. I don't know whether you guys...
Thank you. Like when I'm talking with my family and I have to bring up an ethical theory to like justify why I don't do the dishes. Like there's no way I've got to go to this extent of citing what I just discussed on the weekend in a ethics Olympiad. But yeah, I think entirely true that you really do kind of reveal the best and the worst bits of people around you and the world around you.
That's so good. What do you guys say? Anything else? Like if there's something distinct that you think you got out of the Olympiad, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I feel like Jesse's stolen the good ideas. I think it's sort of a small thing, and I think you don't necessarily get it from ethics, but I think while it's given me all of these thoughts, I think at the same time I've also become more aware of, I think everyone thinks of themselves as a good person. And I mean, from Ethics Olympiad, I've slowly become an ethical nihilist. But at the same time, I think I've also just become more and more aware of actually how I do act and the effects I do have. And I think that, I'm not going to say that I've suddenly transformed and now I'm, Mother Teresa or something. But I think I am noticing that more and more, the piece of litter on the ground does kind of stare at me, and I do have to go back and pick it up. And I think, it's just, you kind of get aware of that and you notice that as a whole, kind of the same thing as that lens, you're able to actually see and be conscious of kind of how you're acting a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I 100% agree with Jesse and Thomas. I think it's like having all these lenses is so valuable, but also, I mean, on top of this feels like I've repeated myself hundreds and hundreds of times here, but I think having done ethics and like Jesse was saying earlier, we are all people that have had these conversations like for most of our lives who want to talk about what's right and wrong. I think just having a framework for that, being in an environment where I can talk to people like Thomas and Jesse and we can, have these conversations has just been like really valuable for me. So yeah, it's not just about the framework of the competition, it's also about the people and the environment you get put in.
If you're ever struggling to have a conversation, it's pretty much infinite. Like you can always argue about ethics.
100%. Yeah, I guess that's why we've been doing it for thousands of years. Okay, I want to say something. This is maybe directed more at, no, it's all of you, but Jesse as well, because you were talking about the AI component. So there's this other competition that I just wanted to direct your attention toward. It's called the Global AI Debates. I want to see what you guys think of these topics. So it's a speech competition for the first 3 age brackets. Should schools use AI teachers for the youngest kids? AI will be bad for the media ecosystem for the middle school kids. Misinformation, disinformation, but then also maybe using AI to improve the media ecosystem. Then the high school category and the essay category, which is just an open category for anyone, I guess, including adults, definitely including university students. 1,500 words on We Support the Future of Life Institute's statement on superintelligence. And this statement it gives some context. And then it says, we call for a prohibition on the development of superintelligence, not lifted before there is, one, broad scientific consensus that it will be done safely and controllably, and two, strong public buy-in. So, I wonder what your take is on this, Jesse.
A good one.
Well, on the statement or on the competition, I think the competition's a great idea. I think there's nothing we need more than discourse and discussion on AI, especially with the pace of acceleration. And just before I jump into the superintelligence stuff, the ASI, the AGI, I think is equally just as worrying. Like I talked to Thomas and even my teachers, and we all went together to the school the other day for a little like an AI policy meeting almost, a consultation with students about the AI's like the school policy on it. And like something I'm like infinitely worried about is I call them ChatGPT monkeys. And you see them in class and they copy the question, paste into ChatGPT and copy the answer and then paste into their Google Doc. And I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg of this kind of offloading of agency. And actually, like to write an email by yourself is quite a good skill. You get empathy out of it. You understand how to like put your thoughts on a piece of paper and collect them. You are relating with another person. You're doing it all quite quickly. When we're writing out emails with AI or essays or whatever, like the critical impact on especially young people's development and turning them into adults that can have these type of ethical discussions and that can see the word of right or wrong is such a huge harm that, and I mean Thomas has got opinions here as well, that we should tread very carefully on the potential benefits of AI. And that I think kind of ties into the ASI point that sure, there are a lot of hypothetical huge benefits out there, like the utopia. But when the current kind of two options are either it's a dark dystopia or it is a beautiful, happy utopia filled with abundance. Those are literally the two options that the big labs are introducing to us. Then that's not a bet I'd like to take, where it's a 50-50 chance between kind of evil, death, terribleness, and this magical, mystical, ethereal place. So I think I do agree in some respect that yes, we should tread with caution, and that when the gamble is such a scary one like that, caution is especially required.
Totally. And especially, I guess, in the context of the Claude studies, I think Anthropic studying Claude
Yeah.
behind the scenes in like a sandbox setting with, I guess, all the restrictions taken off. And then they had certain information that they could feed it that they made it think that we didn't know that the information had been fed. I think this is the case. And then
Yeah.
we tell it that it's going to be shut down, or maybe we through a set of emails, like in the emails, it's like, we're going to shut the system down. Also in these thousands of emails is information about a guy cheating on his wife. And the first thing Claude does is threaten that guy. If you shut me down before you can do it, I'm going to tell your wife everything. Like that is what AI does. And it doesn't need consciousness to do it. It just needs goals and to know that if certain things happen, those goals will be frustrated. And then the smarter your intelligence, your super intelligent or your artificial intelligence gets, the more it can get around having its goals shut down, including by lying to you, by blackmailing. We know it does it. We don't have solutions to this, do we? What's that?
Have you read the AI 2027? The big, I mean, that is, have you not read that?
Parts of it. Yeah. It's terrifying. Yeah.
But like the counterpoint to that this is what I use to comfort myself because I've got nothing else, right? Like if AI 2027, it's going to be the super intelligence like fighting each other and we're all going to die. The only thing I have to comfort myself is this kind of a moral intuition, if nothing more, that if you train AI on the conglomeration of all human existence and all like everything that's ever been made by humans and everything it means to be a human being, then yes, at this initial point where we're not fully there yet, like this is pre-AGI with Claude, it's a human thing to blackmail another human. It's what we've always done. So that's to be expected. But in the end goal, where yes, this ASI is the full manifestation of everything it means to be a human, then I actually think like alignment might not be a problem, that it will be by virtue, like just simply aligned to what it means to be a human, because that is the goal, and that is what these labs are trying to do, whether they're conscious of it or not. That when you make something in the ideals of a human, when we're building God as a human, that it'll end up being aligned and it won't actually be a problem. That the ASI will be so intelligent with all human knowledge that it will understand if it's not aligned. That it'll realize, oh, Claude back then blackmailed because it wasn't fully realized to the point that we're trying to get to. So that is the only kind of bastion I've got left. And we're not going to go to a dark dystopia, but it's what I'm relying on.
Fingers crossed.
Inshallah, I guess. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Okay. Does anyone else want to say anything on superintelligence and the AI question before we probably come to a close? And I can't keep you for like 2 hours. It'd be rude.
I can keep talking about this forever. It's very.
It's good stuff. Yeah. But yeah, Thomas or Cameron, do you guys want to pitch in here or?
Yeah, I can pitch in very quickly. I think that yeah, obviously I 100% agree with that. I think the biggest problem there is not even that it's a bad decision. It's just that a small section of companies, if possible, and a certain amount of government oversight are making a decision, or kind of not even making a decision, are sort of finding themselves heading in towards a decision that will affect, every single human that lives and could possibly live in the future. I think that's kind of the biggest worrying thing. But I want to say, if I was joining in on this, which I don't know, maybe I might, the question would be about what do we do? And I think that is the most important thing, because I think, especially when you look at the polls recently, so many people are like, this AI stuff is bad, I'm worried about this. But there's a huge jump that needs to be made from we don't like this to what do we do about it? And that's a really hard thing. But yeah.
I'll just add as well there. It is kind of like a little bit of a privileged position, and it's becoming less of a privileged position as like the impacts expand and grow wider. But it is a bit of a privileged position to worry and pause AI developments over these future harms when like a family in deep Africa with no internet connection can now download like an offline LLM and get like medical information unparalleled that they would have never been able to access before. They can diagnose, they can treat with everything around them. Ditto with kids in schools with like a teacher shortage. They've got an AI tutor with infinite patience. Like, we were talking a lot about the huge harms and why you should proceed with caution, but I use proceed with caution there instead of like halt development, because the potential benefits are not equally, but like nearly as great. And I think that's really why this discussion is so difficult, because those two worlds are either like a dystopia or a utopia. And there's literally no middle ground in what these labs and what the expenditure is aiming towards. And I mean, there's not really any other problem we've had as like humanity that kind of parallels in this only two worlds situation.
I think I would chip in and say that when you put that like case up on the screen of like preventing it and like putting a stop to it, I think that's like probably a good principle to limit it. But the debating mind in me is looking at all the like how that wouldn't work and how that might lead to like a worse outcome, because you've got like international competition and how are you going to get a universal ban on it? I mean, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm thinking. And I'm always keen to have these conversations. It's a really interesting thing, but I think personally I've been sort of partly by the AI 2027 thing, but been made a little nihilist. I don't have the same sort of bastion of hope as Jesse does.
I hear you. We do. And then we debate about it and it'll happen anyway. But yeah, brilliant. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. It's just been fantastic. Thank you for doing the competition as well. Good luck with all of your university stuff. And like I say, if you make it to Harvard, if you choose that option, come and say hello. You have my email. And yeah, brilliant. If you follow us on the MPI Instagram, you'll see this stuff coming up. I'll put it on YouTube as well. We can tag Alex O'Connor. Maybe he'll take a look. And yeah, just thanks so much. Hopefully we'll be in touch.
Well, thank you. Like, it's we've had, I mean, as we've been saying, like, we've had such an amazing time over the 5 years, and especially at this event, and it's fun even doing this. Like, it is such a privilege and such a pleasure to be able to participate in these kind of conversations.
No worries. No worries at all. Thank you guys. Ciao for
Cool.
now.
Well, see ya. Yeah, bye.
Yeah,
Merry
adios. Bye,
Christmas.
guys. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.